Hey, this is Brian.
And Shelby.
And you're listening to the Hyperspace
Pod Blast. Aren't you a little short for a podcast?
Huh?
Golly gee, it's Hyperspace Pod Blast!
Thanks. I was sitting here thinking, what dumb thing am I going to do this week? And then you just like, bam, saved me.
Here you go.
Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
So we've had two big announcements recently about Star Wars television. So we thought we'd talk about some small screen Star Wars.
Small.
I don't know. Maybe like, unless you're really rich, then your TV might be like as big as a movie. Then it's equal screen Star Wars. But anyway,
Okay.
First and foremost, it seems like we're getting the Star Wars anime of our dreams. So what are your thoughts on that? The genre in general, the setting, the characters, etc.
Well, I'm obviously incredibly excited, considering
Yes.
it's what we have been saying that we really wanted to see for the next animated Star Wars show.
Yeah, that's what I was hoping for when they announced Rebels. Like, is it going to be anime? Do you think it'll be anime? What if they did anime?
I mean, I haven't been shy about saying that the 3D animation is not my favorite.
Right.
So to finally get away from that, no matter what it is good for me.
Yeah, but not only did they get away from it, now they went directly toward your wheelhouse.
Yeah. So it's good times in the Hyperspace Pod Blast household.
True. And it's nice too, especially in a medium like animation, how the animation is done makes a pretty big impact on the story. Because if you don't like sitting there and looking at what you have to look at for a half an hour or, 22 minutes, whatever it is, it's not going to be as enjoyable, even if the story is really well done,
Yeah.
I think.
I think sometimes that was the case for me with Rebels. Like, I would have been much more interested if I enjoyed what I was looking at from a visual perspective.
Right. I think vice versa, too. I've often watched anime and thought, this is not that good, but I'm enjoying it, so I'm going to keep going.
Because it's pretty.
Yeah, it's just something about this style is it's fun to watch. It's engaging. I kind of wonder if they're going to do some of the things that they tend to do in anime, like when a character gets like...
Probably not.
Yeah, I feel like probably not.
You're going to
either.
have more of a
It's
Legend
gonna be
of Korra style.
Very
kinda.
standard.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's going to look like anime, but aside from that, it's not going to be...
No, I don't think so.
That's kind of what I figured too.
But it's going to be Star Wars.
That's true, and it does look like anime, so that's better than looking like another 3D thing.
So what do you
third
think,
time in a row.
Brian? What are your thoughts?
I'm not surprised that it's between Return of the Jedi, The Force Awakens. I knew that was going to be like someplace they were going to head full steam. I thought, though, it would be after Episode 9 comes out. I'm surprised, I guess, by how soon they've decided to implement this sort of storytelling section.
It makes sense in a way because they already have 9, like, the story details mostly worked out.
True.
So they know what's going to happen. So and there's nothing else happening after it, so they don't have to worry about anything conflicting or restricting future parts of this saga.
True. That's a good point, actually. The afterward part, though I still think that we're going to get a 10, 11, 12 at some point.
Yeah.
But, I mean, why would you...
Why would you not?
Yeah. Come on. Everybody will watch it. But yeah, I think it's a safe zone now, especially closer to Return of the Jedi. There's some little seeds that have been planted throughout with Bloodline, Aftermath, now with Last Shot. So it's an area that's been somewhat explored. So it doesn't surprise me that I guess they're heading that direction. I just didn't expect it to be full steam until after the movies were out.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not complaining, that's for sure, because I'm really ready to go to a different era.
Yeah, for sure. They've pretty much tapped that well of the original trilogy, especially the early section there. It's
a little full.
It's run fairly dry. I think I've made a sandbox reference a couple times, and there's no sand left in that corner. It's all been dug up and moved other places.
The cat pooped in it. I don't know why that was so funny to me.
Anyway, because you said poop, and that's
yeah,
just a funny word.
Exactly.
So I guess the only other thing is characters. We're getting new characters, which is always exciting, but they've already mentioned old characters. So is this something that you think is good, bad, or ugly?
I think it's going to be good because you have to have something to pull in kids and also just like to signify this is Star Wars. You need something familiar to be the hook.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And I think I read that BB-8 was going to be one of those.
Right.
Which I think that's the perfect choice because while BB-8's like super fun and very much tied to what we see on screen, BB-8's not going to take up the whole like space of other characters.
True, but my question sort of revolves around BB-8 and Poe being kind of like two peas in a pod. So how can you have BB-8 be a main part of your show and not have him involved with Poe? Is this going to be maybe, I guess, before they got hooked up, though? With his comic, it just makes it seem like they've always been BFFs.
Well, just because you're BFFs doesn't mean you, like, have to be together all the time.
That's true. That's fair.
So it might be, like, a time where Poe needs to go do something and he sends BB-8 to help.
Yeah, I imagine that's probably going to be the situation. Poe's going to be on some secret mission and BB-8 going to be straight chilling with the resistance.
Yeah.
So, anyway, on that same sort of vein, do you think this series will be able to stick to having the known big player characters as small background roles, or do you think they'll eventually bring them more to the forefront? Like, do you think it's going to be one of those things like where Rebels started as the Rebels and then became Rebels/Clone Wars? Do you think this will be Clone Wars/Rebels/Resistance?
What a leading question, Brian. I personally think that they're going to do a good job keeping it in check because I think that even though some people may feel like Rebels turned into Clone Wars Part 2, I think it still did a lot of focusing on the characters that were the new characters for Rebels. They did a great job focusing on the Ghost crew, and I think whoever these new characters are in this one, they're going to also be focused on. That will be your main group of people that you get to know in this show. And the known characters, I think that they'll be very present, but I don't think they're going to take over the storyline.
Okay, good.
My prediction.
In my pessimistic view.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
no way.
I know. I think we're going to get a first season that is much like Rebels' first season, where it feels very planned out, very like well-rounded, so to speak, with the main players kind of having little cameo-esque appearances. And then as it goes on, unless the ratings are like through the roof, then maybe they'll keep going. But I don't know. I feel like as it goes on, we're either going to get some like the secret mission is going to be like finding Ezra or going after Ahsoka because we need more Jedi, because Luke's gone. So now we have to try to find the other Jedi that we quasi know about. I don't know. Maybe that's just, again, me being pessimistic. But I have this idea in my head that it's going to start out being like, yay, Resistance versus the First Order. Awesome. And then it's going to be about going and finding Ezra, Ahsoka, and Sabine.
Well, maybe, probably at season 3 of this new show. I think that's what might happen.
There, I knew I could draw it out of you.
So, switching gears to the live action show, it's been revealed that it takes place 7 years after the Battle of Yavin.
Yes, not Endor like it was initially stated.
Between Return of the Jedi and The Force Awakens. It's going to feature new characters, include cutting-edge tech, kind of like the Jungle Book. So what are your first impressions?
This was the one that I'm really surprised about. I did not expect this to be from this era. It's interesting that these two shows are kind of going to be running concurrently in the timeline, which is going to be pretty interesting to see.
I like that idea. I think it'll be... I personally like crossovers like that when they make sense.
Right,
if you have some new characters that make appearances in both shows.
The thing I wonder about is I feel like Lucasfilm is sort of taking the MCU and going, okay, that was good. I like what you did there. We're going to borrow from that. So I wonder if we're going to end up having this live action series that takes place concurrently with this animated series, but then they never really do anything together. Like they kind of mention each other, kind of like the MCU television and the MCU movies. They're both happening at the same time, but they don't really matter to each other, so to speak.
I mean, that's a possibility, but I have a feeling the way that Star Wars likes to interconnect, I think it will.
Yeah, they really kind of do like to put those threads between things. And this is especially since they're kind of working on it at the same time. It's not even something that's like two different production studios, or, I mean, it is, but it isn't. It's all Lucasfilm.
Right. I'm also excited because this gives me the impression that we're going to get more creatures.
Oh yeah, with the whole Jungle Book tech. Do you think that's just
maybe
like
I'm
misleading
just
because you're thinking Jungle Book creatures?
Maybe.
But either way, it's going to be creatures or aliens probably, right?
Yeah. And you're going to get some really neat looking stuff, very fantastical, kind of out of the box imaginative things.
Imagine if we have our first alien lead in the Star Wars project.
Oh boy.
I know. I would be like, the Looney Tunes commercials where they like bounce off the walls and stuff.
Yes.
That would be me.
I'd be into it.
So what do you think the chances are of that now that it's out of the box?
I could see them doing something with the continuation of the Battlefront 2 story.
Yeah, that would be pretty cool. I feel like, I don't know, I think they could probably set it up without people having to watch or play the game. Or they could at least introduce some characters.
Like Shriv would
That could work either way, actually. With the Resistance makes more sense since we know for a fact that it's going to be about the Resistance and they were involved in that. So I could see them showing up in there. That would be beyond cool.
Mm-hmm.
An animated Shriv would be dopes.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I don't know what we have so little information. It's hard to really estimate or guesstimate or whatever you want to call it. Speculate. I think that's the word I was looking for. There we go.
Who do you think these new characters will be?
I don't know. That's what I was just trying to ponder, really. I would love for the new lead to be an alien, but I have a feeling it'll be like a second fiddle alien, which is still good. More aliens is always good. But I feel like it's probably gonna be not something that so closely parallels what they're doing with Resistance. I think it'll be maybe the third party people. You have Resistance dealing with the good guys, bad guys kind of thing. And then the live action show will be the underground, to show you what's happened, how things have bubbled up now that there's, sort of a iron hand of the Empire is now the kinder, gentler, demilitarizing republic.
Yeah, I could see some scoundrel stuff and bounty hunter stuff. I could see people like living their lives on Coruscant and like all the rumors and things that go on there.
It could be a politically charged intrigue show, like a Law and Order.
West Wing.
West Wing. That's a better
House of Cards.
Yeah,
something like that. I could see it. I feel like some people would not like it. Or a lot of people would not like something like that.
Yeah.
Considering they didn't like trade deals.
Yeah, that gets brought up a lot, oddly.
I know. I don't understand the beef.
That's really not what the whole movie was about, but whatever.
I'd be into it, though.
Yeah, I think it would be cool to see some popular genres get a Star Wars take, but I don't know. I feel like it's probably going to be more of a Game of Thrones Star Wars thing with scoundrel or criminal underbellies vying for control rather than, weird incestual royalty vying for control.
Same thing, right?
Something like that. I don't know. The important thing is that it's going to be new characters and not something we've seen before. But do you think that even in the live action, they're going to be able to stick to that whole new character idea? Or do you think they'll bring characters in, like known characters with, again, cameo type situations?
I think they'll bring known characters in, but that won't be the hook for this show. I think this show's going to be able to stand on its own, and then they're going to bring in cameos as, I don't know, ratings go down or something.
Yeah.
It's like, possible. Hey, look who's coming on the show. Make sure you keep watching.
Yeah, or make sure you tune in for the first time and hopefully get...
catch up, that sort of thing.
And that'll be an interesting thing, too, because I don't know if they've said this directly or if it's just a rumor, but that it's going to be on Disney's specific streaming service. Do you think that's going to be something that hurts the show? I mean, Star Wars is this huge juggernaut, so I imagine people will probably sign up for it specifically for this show. But do you think there are enough super fans that are into something like that, or do you think it's going to be kind of like that new Cobra Kai show on YouTube Red, where people are like, that looks really cool, but I'm not getting YouTube Red?
Yeah. I think it's a gamble. I think that there's going to be people who get it, and then they say, I'll just keep it because my kids like the other shows on here.
Yeah, that's a good point.
It's tough because people don't like adding another subscription service.
Right,
People
yeah.
are starting to look at their bills at the end of the month and see how many.
It's only $7. It's only $7. It's only $7.
Yeah.
You do that like 30 times, and then you're spending a lot of money.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, will people switch out, say, like, their Hulu subscription for this? I don't know. I wouldn't trade that.
No. Hulu's got the animes.
That's true. I think it's a hard sell. I don't know what their price point is going to be. I think it might be less than like the $7. I think it's supposed to be somewhere around the $4. Maybe I'm making that up.
I feel like I heard that too. I don't know. I think probably initially because they're not going to have the expansive content that the other two of them have.
You can't ask someone to pay the same amount for, a fraction of what they have.
Yeah, even though Disney does think fairly highly of their content, I think.
Yeah. Granted, I think it's going to depend on the other stuff they have. I mean, especially having access to a lot of their movies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, their whole vault and whatever that
blah, blah, blah.
nonsense is.
I mean, it's smart because you really can't get stuff otherwise.
Yeah. No, I mean, they have their marketing down pat, so I feel like it probably won't be a problem. Do you think they'll do something where they debut it on Disney Channel or even, I think they have ABC too, don't they?
I think they're going to debut it on Disney Channel or like Disney XD, and then switch over to the streaming service.
Yeah. I feel like it'll get debuted on something. I feel like maybe the Disney Channel or XD is a little too child friendly.
I don't know where they would do it. Probably ABC then, if they own ABC.
Yeah, that's what I think. I can't remember. They own like everything. I'm pretty sure they own one of the network.
Yeah.
One of the BCs.
I don't think that you can get people to sign up without having seen the first episode somewhere else.
Yeah. And I'm sure they'll start out with some kind of like free trial. Yeah. But yeah, I would be surprised if they didn't. Or they may do what, I don't know if they've already done this or they're planning on doing it, where they had that one television show debut like in theaters.
Oh.
I could see them trying something like that, unless the other one flopped, which it may have, because I remember hearing about it and then kind of never actually hearing anything else about it. So if it already happened, I guess it probably didn't do very well.
I could see that happening too, though.
That would make for a heck of an event, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Like have the first 2 episodes, maybe. I don't know. I assume it's going to be an hour-long show. Anytime there's a new live action, not comedy, I just assume it's going to be an hour.
Mm-hmm. Well, it makes sense considering the popularity of MoviePass. People would go.
Well, yeah. Well, people would go anyway.
Yeah.
Just to check it out. It could possibly be the thing that, I don't know, gives you your first 2 Star Wars in a year movie.
Yeah.
As people have been saying, it's kind of died down now that things have slowed down, but there for a while people were saying, man, we're going to start getting like 2 Star Wars movies a year. It's going to be crazy. Be just like Marvel. And now you get like, I don't know, 13 Marvel movies a year. I feel like I'm always going to a Marvel movie.
Yeah.
Not to complain, but
no.
Yeah, I know. That is the rub, though, like, as far as this whole Lucasfilm MCU comparison goes. Is it going to get to the point where there's 7 Star Wars-related series and, you have this trilogy and this trilogy. We're going to actually do more of the saga. We're still doing Star Wars stories. Is it going to get to the point where it's just like, we don't take a full year to indulge in movies anymore because we're getting another one in 3 months? Like, this is kind of a little taste of it right here, because we just had The Last Jedi, and now in 2 weeks, less than 6 months from watching Last Jedi, we're going to be watching Solo.
Yeah, people saying we're going to get 2 Star Wars movies in a year. Well, we are right now.
Well, yeah, at a year's time. I mean, like a calendar year. But
I think that you are going to get to that point where people are going to have to get comfortable with the idea that they're not going to consume it all. Yeah. I mean, we're there already with like books and stuff.
Yeah, it was
with
It was a tough pill to swallow for me.
But it's going to be to the point where you're not going to be able to watch all of the shows as well.
I mean, with Marvel, honestly, unless that's all the TV I would ever watch, I would never be able to watch everything.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I guess with the whole releasing it on Netflix binge possibilities, sure, you could do it that way. But if it's going to be like a regular serial show, I lose interest in that stuff real fast because I won't have time to watch one and then I can't watch the next one because I haven't watched the one before it. And before long, I'm 6 episodes deep and don't care anymore.
I know. You give up.
I do. Television's gotta do a lot to keep me going.
That's true.
Poor TV.
I mean, poor TV.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure that their entire point is to entertain me.
Yeah, that's why they all exist. So, finally, to wrap this up, as new Star Wars seems to be all about creating connections between narratives, do you think that characters and stories from the 2 shows will cross over? We kind of touched on this before, but how do you think these shows will interact, being in the same time frame? How much of a crossover do you think we're going to get?
I think it'll be way more likely for the live action characters to appear on the animation than vice versa. Because it's really easy to take the same actor, draw him, and have him do voice acting than it is to cast someone that looks like a character you've drawn and then figure out a way for their voice to sound like whoever's voicing the character. You know what I mean? It's kind of a mess to go from animated to live action and keep that consistency of character. But to go the other way is pretty simple. I mean, they've even already done that with Saw and a couple other characters.
That's true.
So I could see that happening, especially if this is some sort of bounty hunter / mercenary, scoundrel, etc. underbelly related thing. That would be easy to tie into a resistance / first order confrontation. If they're both resistance based, though, I don't see how they could possibly not interact. Like, I don't think the resistance is so big that 2 shows can go on concurrently and the people involved in each of them
never know each other.
Yeah, exactly. But I don't think it's gonna be resistance / first order based, just because by that same token, it would be hard to do that and not include Princess Leia, Poe, Snap, all those people that we've seen in the films already, and getting them to come back and do the live action stuff. Well, obviously you can't get Carrie Fisher to come back, but getting someone to fill that role, even people are agonizing about what to do for that for episode 9. Imagine if they decided to recast her for a television show. People would go crazy.
I don't know. I think that'd be the easier way to do it.
I would love it, honestly.
Because I feel like that's the safer place to recast Leia, is in a show rather than on screen, on the big screen.
Yeah, the silver screen.
The silver screen.
Yeah, I would agree with that, but just the whole idea seems like more work than it's probably worth. And I doubt that's where they're going with that. I don't know. I just don't think it doesn't make very much sense to have 2 shows about the same thing.
Right. But
I don't know.
If they're not both resistance based, I still think that there's going to be crossovers.
Yeah. I just, from the way exactly that we've said that Star Wars is kind of operating nowadays, is that everything has its little hooks in everything else. It's all linked together somehow, even if it's a pointless way.
Okay. All right. Overall, I'm very excited for both of these shows, though.
Yeah,
I
same.
mean, getting a Star Wars live action show, period. No matter what it is.
That's kind of the dream.
Yeah. And, we're living the dream right now. We're getting a live action show and an anime style show.
True. But yeah, live action was always, in the old days, it was one of those rumors that popped up all the time. It's like, it's going to be a live action Star Wars show. No. Yes, huh?
Yes,
I heard it.
This time it is yes, huh?
I know. It had been a rumor since really the Disney takeover started. And here it is. The rumor has been derumorized.
Legitimized.
That'll work.
Awesome. So if you guys have thoughts and feelings about these new Star Wars shows, be sure to tweet us at hyperspace_pod.
Email us at hyperspacepodblast@gmail.com.
And as always, you can check out our content on hyperspacepodblast.com.
Thanks for tuning in. We'll be back with Last Shot Chapter Chats number 2 next week.
Awesome. Talk to you later, guys.
Bye.
Bye.